tuned into Black Hollywood Live, the world's first digital broadcast network devoted entirely to urban entertainment and pop culture. Tune in right now.
What's up, world? I am your host, Neema Skye, and this is my beautiful host, Miss Porchia Carter.
Hey, y'all. We back.
Yes, we are back. Welcome to another edition of Gone Viral in Quarantine, where we are contributing to culture through conversations of viral impact. Of course, I'd like to start off saying I hope everybody had a great week. And I asked my co-host, how was your week?
It was cool. I ain't got no complaints. Like I said, this quarantine, even though, we shut down the city, my activity and productivity has been picking up. I am busier than ever. I'm in great spirits. I'm up. We good over here. How about you?
I am amazing. I am just, continually pushing forward and adjusting into this new environment of quarantine. But let's talk about what's going on in the world. So first and foremost, I want to talk about the incident that happened in Detroit, Michigan, between Sekulow Hill and Jillian Wuestenberg. Well, actually, it was her daughter, Miss Michaela Green. So basically what happened is Michaela Green, Sekulow Hill's daughter, was walking into a Chipotle, and Jillian had bumped into her daughter. She kind of backed up for a little bit to catch herself and asked her if she could apologize. In that moment, Jillian refused to apologize. I think that Michaela had made a statement about, she was wanting her to be able to give her personal space, and Jillian just kind of like resisted. And I think that she made a statement in saying that she felt like, she was racist. And Jillian got upset. She didn't apologize. And then the altercation just went beyond and above. Then Miss Michaela called in her mother, Sekulow. And then first of all, her and her daughter were having a conversation with Jillian. They would get into an argument. And then I'm guessing that Jillian and her husband gets into the car. And as they're pulling off, they state that Miss Sekulow Hill actually hit the back of her SUV. Then Jillian stepped out of the car, just put out a gun on her. There's a lot of emotions going on here, but she pulls out a gun on her, Sekulow Hill, and Michaela Green. And in this moment, it's just like, okay, we go from having an altercation to someone pulling out a gun on me. Now, I can imagine maybe Miss Jillian felt a little threatened. She may felt like Sekulow and her mother were going to do some harm, but my question is, you have a gun, right? And then you're pointing it at someone just in broad daylight, right? Like, we can't even have a conversation to say, okay, hey, like, how can we have this conversation in civilized manner, get over? But you're pulling out a gun, it's broad daylight. I know how I feel, but Porchia, I just want to get your comments on this situation.
Okay, so first and foremost, this is really touchy for me because I'm from Detroit, Michigan, okay? So It was just like, I'm from Detroit and I ain't never seen nothing like it. I kid you not, never seen anything like it. Like, I don't know if I'm in my own world, in my own realm when I'm at home or whatever, but I rarely see white people. I grew up on the east side of Detroit, not seeing white people. Like, the most I would see a white person is at school, and they're a teacher, okay? But other than that, it was like I didn't really see them. So to see this really happen like this, is just like, is she crazy? Is she crazy? Like, at the end of the day, like, common courtesy is everything. If you bump somebody, say excuse me.
Right.
That's how most fights get started, period. And especially in Detroit. Like, if you bump somebody, say excuse me. Not only did you bump and not say excuse me, but you bumped a 15-year-old girl. You didn't think she was gonna tell her mama? You a grown woman. At the end of the day, you are a grown woman. If I am 15 years old and a grown woman approaches me like bumps me and then approaches me like she crazy, I'm gonna get my mama too.
Right.
So I had no understanding for anything that happened with that. My thing is, she called herself saying that she felt very threatened, and she mentioned even on the news, well, not on the news, but the reporter mentioned that she left a statement after getting arrested, basically saying that when the evidence come out, y'all gonna see that, our lives were in danger. How is your life in danger with a mother and her children? How is your life in danger with a mother and her children? It's literally because she's Black. It's literally because she's Black. You cannot tell me if that was a white mother and her white children in front of you and that happened, you would have pulled out the same gun. At the end of the day, you got a whole husband with you. You got a whole husband with you, a mother and children. You don't think you and your husband can fight them together? When you pull out a gun, you're taking out a gun to kill. You're not taking out a gun to harm. You're taking out a gun to kill. So if there was going to be some type of threatening and altercation, she was already about to hit Tequila with the car. That was the only reason why Tequila started banging on the window.
Right.
And I've been in situations like that before, where somebody about to hit me in their car and I had to bang on their window, like, you got me messed up. I know you see me.
Right.
So yeah, I have no understanding for it. Like, the only thing that we can conclude for a fact is that this was a racist act. There's no doubt in my mind that if this was a white woman, that other precautions would have been taken. She would not have put out that gun.
The biggest problem for me is the fact that this woman had a gun just available to just pull out on someone. I mean, granted, she may have felt threatened or whatever, however, but it's just, I just don't think that it was that crucial for her to pull out a gun on a young 15-year-old girl and her mother. I mean, they could have had the conversation, she could have, she could have easily apologized, but the biggest problem is our gun control in this nation, where for some reason people feel privileged enough. Well, I'm not going to say people, but I felt like, she possibly felt privileged enough to say, I have this gun is mine. And I'm just going to pull it out on somebody. And I think that is the behavior that, we see with police brutality. A lot of, situations where, we've had a lot of Caucasians, as well as, police. Of course, the police have the guns to be able to protect and do whatever they do. So they have a right to be able to bear arms. However, it's just getting out of hand. And I feel like the gun control needs to be locked down a little bit more. The senator of Michigan actually has something to say about it. And she agreed with the fact that the gun laws basically need to be a little bit heightened more, so that people just don't feel the need to just carry a gun out and just put it on like a 15-year-old young girl and her mother. She
mentioned that the gun law should go in some type of alignment with common sense. Right. Because nothing that she did was common sense.
It was not common sense.
It wasn't common sense for her to bump somebody and not say, excuse me. It wasn't common sense for her to almost hit somebody with her car. And then she topped it off with the stupidity by getting out the car and pulling out a gun on her mother and children.
Right. She did. And I mean, that's completely uncalled for. But again, I just feel like the woman felt threatened, and she felt like she was privileged in some way to be able to pull out this gun and not believe that she had any type of consequences. You can even notice in the video, whenever, she's actually videotaping Julian, she's like, get that out of my face, get that out of my face. Mm-hmm. And it's just like, oh, okay, well, you don't want people to see that you actually, like, you're actually pointing this gun at me and my daughter. Needless to say, of course, she was wrong. And, her and her husband actually ended up getting arrested. And we don't know where the trial is now. But again, I definitely understand the fact that, it's just, I just feel like our nation right now is in a very sensitive space. And
again, like I said, sensitive is the world anymore at this point.
I just feel like the gun laws need to be cracked down a lot more than what they are, because if not, we're going to see more cases like this. And it could easily spiral into, a bigger war,
like a mob situation.
Right. Because I mean, somebody in the parking lot could have had a gun and could have felt like, okay, so now it's going to be a white and a black thing. So it's just, again, my heart goes out to Tequila and her daughter, because of course, she did do an interview on ABC, and she said that she felt really, really traumatized by the situation. And I can completely understand like where she's coming from, because that was just a lot.
That was a lot.
It was a lot. Speaking of a lot, I do want to talk about Kanye West running for president. He made the announcement on July the 4th, which was humorous. However, what I do want to talk about is something very interesting that I noticed about this particular situation. So I watched the video where in 2015, Kanye West did a performance on MTV, and he basically announced at that time that he was going to be running for president in 2020. In 2015, Donald Trump announced that he was running for president. Now, we've seen Kanye together with Donald Trump, and I think, of course, and we know Kanye West made the statement about how he felt that slavery was a choice. So there was just a lot of speculations of like, wait, like, is he on Donald Trump's team? Like, what's really happening? But now, just from surfacing, but what I talked about when Kanye West made that announcement, it seems like maybe possibly that he came together with Donald Trump because it has something to do with his announcement that he made back in 2015, and maybe even though we think that he's really trying to possibly, come together with Donald Trump, maybe it's really more of him saying, okay, I'm actually getting ready to be your opponent. And maybe Kanye is a lot smarter than what people think or perceive that he is. Again, a lot of people think that, Kanye is out of his mind and, he's just doing things because he's bipolar. But I don't know, like this situation to me seems a little bit more intentional. Portia, what do you think?
Yay for 2020. Kanye 2020, okay? Let me tell you something. Okay, so in all seriousness, at this point, I am in agreement with the world when I literally cry out and say we need qualified candidates to run the presidency. We need qualified candidates who can stand up and be leaders of the United States of America. This is a very powerful country. This is a very wealthy country. This is like although, they don't treated us wrong all our lives, like we still live in this country. So we still have to have some type of pride about the people who are in leadership, okay? If Donald Trump can run for president and we see how this done went, anybody can run for president, okay? Porchia Carter 2020 at this point, okay? I can run for president, okay? Like a 4-year-old can run for president compared to Donald Trump at this point. And that's just that. You can put that on my record. But I feel like...
but can we really speculate and really say maybe Kanye is crazy for running for president for 2020? Because again, Donald Trump, he actually stated several times even before 2015 that he was running for president, so it's like now we see like is running for president more of an entertainment, because his stance was I'm a great businessman, and now this country needs a businessman to be able to lead us, into the affairs of taking care of America. But we see Kanye West. I mean, he's a businessman, and of course, we've seen him change a lot. He did the album Jesus is King, and then he's been doing a lot of things in the church. Just really trying to get himself back in a space, where kind of like he did with Jesus Walk. So I think that Kanye has been appealing to us in a different space. We're trying to take him a little bit more seriously. We're trying to figure out like exactly where he's coming from. But I don't know. I mean, is he being sincere?
So for me, I think only time will tell if this is sincere or not, because only time told that he was going to run for real. I mean, he did announce it in 2015. So what we do know for sure is that Kanye, although, he stood with Trump and wore the MAGA hat and all of those things, he literally said, he put out a statement saying that he was just trying to use Trump to get in the White House, to get his hands in there for prison reform, for discussing mental health issues, for the violence in Chicago. Like he already had an agenda with even putting his foot in the White House. And sometimes you got to keep your enemies closer than your friends. Keep your friends closer, keep your enemies closer.
That's what it is.
That right there, like that's what he did. I feel like his strategy and his way about going things, like it has already seen played out. Like his prison reform thing, that ain't nothing to like that he just was playing around with. His wife is literally a part of prison reform. Like people are literally being released from prison who are unlawfully in prison. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like,
I mean,
the things that they have been working towards are actually coming to fruition. It's not like he's just out here putting a lot of things out there. And at the end of the day, I believe with my whole heart that Kanye is changed. Like I stand with him. I stand with him because not only is he, putting himself out there as a changed man, but he's professing the same thing that I profess. Jesus is king. Like we in agreement with what we're trying to make happen in the world. And this man literally said when he put out the tweet, he said that, you know, it's time to recognize the promise of America by putting our trust in God, unifying our vision, building our future. Like he's trying to build the future. He's trying to raise a generation who of people who are better. Yeah, people may look at him as a joke, but at the end of the day, if you judging people by their past, what have you done that you don't want nobody to judge you for it? Absolutely. I'm not the type of, first of all, I can't judge nobody because I am just somebody who does crazy stuff all day, every day. But at the end of the day, like you cannot look at somebody and if they claim to be changed, you literally have to, like the Bible says, know them by their fruit. And you see his fruit. You see the fruit of his changes. So you can't look at somebody and judge them and be like, oh, you did this. Oh, you said this. After he came out and said, I changed my mind. I'm changed. Here goes a new person. Like, just like how I be telling people all the time, like, if you knew me before quarantine, you don't know me no more. I'm changed.
Right. Absolutely. And I mean, I think that anybody could change at any given time in their life. You know what I mean? It's just interesting to see that, you know, Kanye, again, he's coming forth like right in the middle of the presidency. I mean, we have the coronavirus going on. We have a lot of things going on, you know, in the Black community, you know, trying to make sure that, you know, we are protecting just our lives. And Kanye makes this announcement. And honestly, I think that Kanye is being sincere. I mean, I know a lot of times, you know, people have said that they feel like Kanye is completely out of his mind, but I think that it seems like that because Kanye just doesn't really care what people think about him. And I think that's a quality to me as a leader, because like when you're a leader, like you're not necessarily looking to the people to really agree with what they think about your stance on something. Like when you are a leader, you have to be relentless. Like you have to say, okay, look, they may not believe me today, but if I continue to keep being consistent and keep pushing myself in a space where people are able to see who I'm being on a consistent basis, and like I'm like reflecting what I'm saying, you know, with what I'm doing, and it's like at the end of the day, people have to buy into who you are. It's like because you're pretty much showing it, you know what I mean? And like you said before,
yeah. And then Donald Trump don't care. He don't care about what people think. He's saying any and everything. He tweets like I ain't never seen a president on Twitter like he is. And like the man tweets more than anything. So
and I think that's the reason why. I'm sorry, babe.
If he's saying anything and everything, like why is that thrown out the window now? You know what I'm saying? And, you know, people speaking about, you know, the splitting of the votes, you know, that was split the votes between Biden and Kanye, and then, you know, Trump will win and blase. But honestly, truly, there are Trump supporters who's going to support Kanye.
Well, first of all, there are Kanye supporters because Elon Musk actually said that he was going to support Kanye. He posted it on his Twitter. So again, like I said, and we already know like his influence is massive, you know what I mean? So if we already see people are just forming in line to be able to support Kanye, I also saw some other celebrities too who had spoken, said that we are all following along with Kanye. And I think that like at this time, you know, we're really looking to see who is going to be a man of their word, like who's really going to stick to their guns, like who like who's actually concerned about the matters and who's really going to go forward with them. So again, like I said, I'm definitely not against Kanye in 2020. Again, whenever you speak a thing, it definitely does come into fruition. And so we see that, you know, from both of them speaking in 2015, now that it's basically coming to pass, and we actually see him saying that he wants to be able to be president. Again, like I said before, I'm definitely not against him, but I think that it's going to be an interesting, you know, progress to see how this all is going to unfold. Because
the interesting part is, since Kanye is not already a politician and running, well, Trump wasn't either, so here we are with that. But like, I am just concerned for his heart and like, you know, his atmosphere. Like, we already dealing with a lot of things. Like, just imagine the scrutiny of, you know, people digging into his past and bringing everything to the light. Like, everything he's ever done or said is about to be brought to the light during his, you know, campaign. And so my heart goes out to him and I pray for him in that realm. But also, it's like the man literally said 2020 vision. At the end of the day, 2020 got endless possibilities because so much stuff has happened in this year that it's just like anything is possible at this point. And so many changes have been made. It's no doubt in my mind that anything is possible. Okay, first of all things are possible with God, but anything is possible at this point. Like, he can win. He can win. I believe it.
I mean, I think it's interesting because we're at a time when, especially in the Black community, we're looking for a leader. Like back in the day, we had Malcolm X and we had Martin Luther King, but who's going to be our leader today? Like, who is actually the voice and the sound that's pushing Black Lives Matter? Like, the Black Lives Matter movement is amazing, and it has amazing leaders, and we see people like Kendrick Sampson, and so many other, people who are prominent and, stars and celebrities who are coming forth. But who's going to be that leader? Who's going to be the voice for our generation right now? Because I feel like we need someone that's going to speak on our behalf. So speaking of talking about people who are speaking on our behalf, I definitely want to get into the conversation of Mr. Louis Farrakhan and his speech that he gave on July 4th. There was so much that Mr. Farrakhan had to say, and
he spent 3 hours in.
I want to 100% commend Mr. Farrakhan on getting up at a time where everybody was just basically needing a word. The Black community, people. It doesn't matter like what race or gender you are. We are all dealing with COVID-19 in our own way. But I want to talk about some of the things that he addressed. Number one, he called out President Trump and world leaders. He called out President Trump, Dr. Fauci, and also Bill and Melinda Gates. He talked about the vaccine that they are producing to help get rid of the COVID virus. He mentioned that they are going to Africa to do testing to see how effective this virus is. And he also talked about how he felt like this was a pestilence from God. Portia, tell me so far, like, what do you think about that?
This man talked about a wide range of things. Like, I could literally go through a whole thing, pinpointing everything he talked about because I took tons of notes. But when he spoke about the Melinda and Bill thing, he literally asked them, like, what gives you the right to think that you can depopulate the earth? Like, who told you that you're over taking people's lives because y'all want more food? And I could not, like, first of all, the depopulation and all of that it's a really touchy topic because I don't have nothing nice to say. Like, at this point, I just want to cuss them out because, like, people are created through God. And if he keeps, creating more people and putting them out there, just like Farrakhan said, what makes you think that you have the right to take them away from this earth? And you best believe Porchia Carter ain't taking no vaccine.
Right.
So with him saying that, don't take the vaccine, and he's just like, well, he did say that the Nation of Islam needs to test their own vaccines and have their own scientists and things of that nature. And
and that's why he was wanting Florida to be a epicenter, because they have a lot of doctors from Cuba, who are actually in the progress of. Well, I think what he said is that there were some doctors from Cuba who are already kind of starting on it, and they've already have something in place for it.
He said that Cuba helped China. So he was just like, why they can't help us, But
but also too, we also know the history of America, and Cuba. So that's also a very, very touchy, a very sensitive, touchy subject. But what I want to get back to the conversation of is him talking about the pandemic. He said that it was a pestilence sent from God to punish the inhabitants of the earth for their iniquity. Basically, he said that Donald Trump and all these other people need to bow down because of the sins that they have been committing is basically what's causing all of this havoc on the earth with the COVID-19. And he's saying that the only way that the COVID-19 could be eliminated is through divine power. Like if you repent for all of the things that you're doing, because basically everybody is being punished for their sins and for their iniquities. Portia, tell me a little bit more about how you feel about this.
Okay, I just want to word this right because, me, Porchia Carter, I serve the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, who I serve through by way of the Lord Jesus Christ, my Lord and Savior, right? So it's like I take what he said and I dissect it for what it means for me. So when he said that this was a pestilence from heaven, I couldn't really agree with that because I don't think that this came from heaven. However, I can agree with the fact that my God allowed it to happen. And I agree with why he allowed it to happen. Now, I don't necessarily believe that it's specifically for Donald Trump because it didn't happen to just Donald Trump. This didn't just happen to America. It happened to China, Italy, Africa. It happened all over the world. The whole world is experiencing this virus. So I don't believe that the powerful people and world leaders in America are the people who this was specifically for. That is not my agreement. However, he did pull out a scripture that I want to read if I can. He literally said, Isaiah 26:20-21, go my people into your rooms and shut the doors behind you. Hide yourselves for a little while until his wrath is passed by. See, the Lord is coming out of his dwelling to punish the people of the earth for their sins. The earth will disclose the blood shed on it, and the earth will conceal its slain no longer. So when he said that, and he pulled out this from both the Bible and the Quran. However, I'm speaking of from the Bible point and the revelation that God gave me. When he said that, and he was basically like, yeah, shut down everything, social distance, go on quarantine, be in solitude. When he said that, I agree with that because this is a time of, being away from everything, pulling yourself from all the chaos in the world that was going on outside the world and coming in and searching within yourself and seeing if there is any wicked way within you and being able to go into the presence of God and, repent for your sins, repent for the things that you've done, be able to change your heart. I believe that is why God allowed it. And I believe that that's why it's being prolonged. So I agree with that portion of it, but from the stance of my God, being the one who allowed it to happen for that specific reason. He literally said, my people who are called by my name, if you will humble yourselves and pray and turn from your wicked ways,
heal the land.
I will heal the land. I will
absolutely
forgive your sins and heal your land. Like the land needs healing. We got so much crazy stuff.
Right.
The pandemic is just the bare, it's just
the bare minimum
bar of what's going on. Like we got the racism going on. He's like, it literally says in Isaiah 26:21, he will disclose the bloodshed and conceal the slain no longer. Like every Black person that has been slain is no longer concealed. It's out in the open.
Right.
Like,
and
this is being disclosed. It's literally what's happened. We see it happening. All this stuff is happening. So go in your room, close your door, get in the presence of God and repent and turn from your wicked ways. It's the only answer to this issue that we have.
Absolutely. And it's so funny that you bring that verse up because I was literally going to say the same thing about that verse, that it talks about that in the Bible. And I just feel like you're right. Like we're in a time, like literally it's like a new century. And as soon as 2020 hit, like it was basically a shifting and basically a reorder of the way that we've lived life before. The things that we have tolerated can no longer be because it is a new age. It is a new time. It is a new season. And we have to really pull into this space of, it's not just America, it's the world is on shutdown. He even said Mecca is closed. When in the history have we ever known Mecca to be closed? Like it's, religious, institutions right now, like some of them, are just, and not even necessarily closing because of course, people are still worshiping, within their homes, but this is a time of reflection for us to really be able to get ourselves, our hearts, our minds right to understand like how are we going to move into this next century. Like we have to make sure that things are in order. If we want a new way, a new order, things have to be shaken up.
It have to be changed. This is a time for repentance. Absolutely. Drawing back close to God. and changing your character. Like your character has to be changed. The reason why that woman, Jill, pulled out that gun on Tequila, because she has an issue within her character. It's within herself. And
but it's also a deeper situation. And I'm sorry, but it's also a deeper situation of the things that we have allowed in this nation for years and years to come, which is what Mr. Farrakhan was basically saying. He, basically talking about why do we celebrate the 4th of July? The 4th of July is not our celebration. This country has been built on, basically been built by other cultures and other races. We're not even talking about just, African Americans, Black people, talking about Latinos and, Native Americans. Like, we have all built this nation. And, it came from people who stole us and killed us. And we're saying happy 4th of July, the day that we celebrated. And slaves were people were still enslaved at that time, so it's like, who was really free? Like, what are we really, what are we really celebrating? Like, how can we have a nation under God when it didn't seem like it was founded under God? Because there was so much corruption and killing and, years upon years of slavery, and he talked about slavery did not.
He talked about those 64 years before 1619. He said there was 64 years before 1619 when they say slavery started, that they were in the process of taking people over and shipping them here and relieving them from their language, relieving them from their knowledge, relieving them from everything, their religion
and what they know, so that they can remake them and build them into the people that they wanted them to be. So it's like, we're in the middle of a space where we really have to evaluate what is this nation really built on, and not even talking about it, from a standpoint of being a Black person or, someone of a different race or culture, but just really like looking at the truth. I think that we're in a space where we're having to be conscious of the reality of what was this country built on, and the things that this country was built on is having to be challenged and, pulled up, cut at the root and refounded on the right principles, because we cannot move forward in a positive way, in a positive light. We can't do anything until we get to the root of these laws and all these different things that were not set up for the people. If we're really talking about equality, we need to start hitting certain laws and certain constitutions that are not equal. With everything happening with, police brutality, it's really all a mindset of what this nation has been founded on.
That's another thing Farrakhan said. He said the police need to quit. He said, all y'all quit. He said, don't run up in here in these Black neighborhoods acting like that. Quit.
Because again, like I said, it's really more of a mentality. Like, we see this mentality that has been accepted. And now it's being challenged and literally cut at the root. Mr. Farrakhan also talked about his allegations of, people saying that he was a racist. And he spoke about the Jewish comedian Chelsea Handler. And she talked about the teachings of Mr. Farrakhan. And, she basically related to them. And, she felt that, she was empowered and also inspired by it. And, she talked about it on her platform, in which she was actually slammed. And it wasn't by the Jewish community, but it was by imposters, as he said. And he talked a little bit more about how this is going to be his last speech. Like, there was just so much education and information in this particular speech that kind of had me feeling like it's time for, even though we went through a period of segregation and, now we are integrated, I don't think it's nothing wrong with building up the Black community. I feel like there's so many different other races and cultures, who have come together to be able to build up their community. And I feel like as a Black people, we have to come together and start building our communities and being able to make a better way for ourselves than what we've seen before. And I think
that's one of the things I agree with that he said. He was like, when it comes to the Black community, enough is enough. We tired of taking y'all stuff. We tired of just doing anything and everything that y'all say. We tired of y'all messing with us in the medical field. Like, enough is enough. Times are changing. And if you don't get it right, it's going to be made right to you at the end of the day.
Right. And I think pretty much this is what we're saying. And again, and again, just because you are building the Black community, that doesn't make you racist. It's just saying that I want to be able to build up my community. I want to be able to empower my people to be able to feel like they can have these things that other cultures and races basically have within their own communities. There's nothing wrong with community, like we protect our communities. So it's time for us as Black people to come forward and really unify at this time. I think that this is what it's about. I mean, again, we know that segregation, basically had its place. And now, we're integrated, but I do think that segregation and in terms of building the community, like when things like this happen, I feel like it's basically making us come together. And now we're having to look and see how can we unify, as a people and tear down the division that has been built through slavery. So
yeah,
again, I mean, Porchia, you have anything else to say about the speech?
He said so much that I'm sure that it will take us hours to unpack all of it. But
Absolutely.
I think you just summed it up right there. That was good.
Yeah. Talking about somebody that's being impactful, this is our special segment, which is Viral Impact. And I definitely want to give a shout out to Miss Kiki Palmer. Of course, she posted a small little comment, I would say, on her Instagram. And of course, we know the spiral that's been happening with the Will and Jada and the August relationship battle going on. And Kiki was like, listen, I'm gonna tell you what I feel about it. Breonna Taylor, Rashad Brooks, like, what are we really looking at in this moment? Again, Kiki Palmer has a large following. She's a host on a major network, a major station. She's, acting. She's been an activist. She has been a frontline runner. And I have to say that for her to step up and, and make this comment to draw people in to be like, listen, let's not get distracted and start focusing on other matters that's keeping us away from the matter at hand, which is there are still lives that have not received justice. And it's very important that we make sure that we hold on to those things instead of being concerned about some gossip that's going on in the world that has nothing to do with any type of empowerment. How do you feel about Miss Kiki and what she's doing?
I mean, you said it all right there, but I love Kiki Palmer. Like, throughout this time, I have learned so much from her page. Like, she gives history lessons, from things that, we didn't learn in our history classes in school, things that I didn't even learn in my, African-American studies in college. Like, she is just pouring out more. Like, when she posted about how they used to hit the nigger babies at carnivals and fairs and things like that, that crushed me to my core. Like, that was their way of entertainment, making mothers breastfeed their baby and then hitting them in the belly so that they could puke. Like that, when Kiki posted that, I was mad that I was following her at that moment because I'm just like, I can't believe I'm saying that. Like, it tore me up. But when I recollected myself, it helped me realize like she is on her page spreading so much knowledge, because we have to know exactly where we came from to know how to undo what has been done in order to move forward. And at the end of the day, gossip is just a distraction that's taking you away from everything else that you're supposed to know. When you're indulging in gossip, that's why gossip is a sin. When you're indulging in gossip, you are literally feeding your heart and your mind with garbage. Things that can be thrown away, okay? You're not feeding your mind and your heart with education, with things that are going to edify your spirit, something that you can take and help somebody else in the long run. You're literally feeding yourself with things that are going to be able to tear people down, and we don't want that. To better our communities, to be a better person, to build character, to uplift the Black community, we need uplifting things. Teach me something that I didn't know about my history. Teach me something that I need to know in order to move forward. Teach me the next steps on how we're going to be able to win this battle against injustice. Do not be feeding me no BS about somebody and their husband and what they got going on. I don't want to.
It has nothing to do with me.
It's not nothing to do with nothing. We are in a war. First of all, we're in a war spiritual and spiritual warfare, and then we're on a war on this earth. Like, we got stuff that needs to be done. We have no time for foolishness. So if you're going to indulge in gossip, then you're basically derailing from the plan.
Absolutely. And again, like I said before, we need to be focused on the matter at hand. We need to be able to stay conscious. And I also love the fact that she had a conversation with Joe Biden, and she asked him some questions that she said she felt like people in her generation are concerned about. Like, if they're going to put someone in office, like, we want to know, like, what type of solutions are you going to bring to the problems that we're looking to be solved? And again, that's absolutely amazing. And of course, I feel like we're going to start to see more prominent people, who are in entertainment and, in big positions, who are going to start coming forth and being able to use their voice. But again, I'm going to say this, I'm going to close out with this, is that we need a leader of this time.
Yeah.
Because I feel like we have been lost as a generation. Like, we pretty much allowed ourselves to be entertained through, it's like, instead of us choosing a leader who we know can get us where we need to be, we're more concerned about being entertained. And I don't know who the leader's going to be. I don't know who the voice is. I have no idea. But again, I'm closing out on the fact that we are looking for a leader who is really about change and social equality. So with that being said, we got down to the very last of our show. We thank you guys for tuning in to Gone Viral in Quarantine. I am your host, Miss Neema Skye. And this is Miss Porchia Carter. Where can we find you on social media, my love?
You can find me on all things social media at Porchia Carter. It's literally just my name, Porchia. Porchia Carter.
And you can find me, Miss Neema Skye, on all social medias as Neema Skye. Skye spelled with an E, not just a Y. So you guys have an amazing week, and we will see you next week. Tune in.
On behalf of our BHL staff, we would like to thank you for tuning in to Black Hollywood Live, the world's first digital broadcast network devoted entirely to urban entertainment and pop culture. Check out our Black Hollywood Live YouTube page for even more great programming and amazing content. And be sure to subscribe and like our channel when you do. I'm your BHL host, Nakia Monet, and you can find me on all social media at Kiki Boom Boom or at Black Hollywood Live. Black Hollywood Live, Hollywood redefined.